While you are watching this, the US Navy has imposed a full naval blockade on all Iranian ports. Peace talks in Pakistan collapsed after 21 hours. Iran is now threatening. No port in the region will be safe. And as if that were not enough, Trump called Pope Leo weak and terrible on foreign policy, then portrayed himself as Jesus on social media. The Pope responded from his plane on the way to Africa, "I'm not afraid of the Trump administration." Right now we are living through times nobody could have made up. And while this geopolitical chaos dominates the headlines, something is happening in the background that should matter deeply to everyone who works hard for their money. Today we need to talk about gold. Not because it's going up right now, but because over 5,000 years it has been the only constant in exactly these kinds of moments. Egyptians, Romans, Chinese dynasties, they all agreed. But 50 years ago, a handful of governments decided, just trust this printed paper. And you know what? The fiat money experiment is now starting to fail in a massive way. Anyone who does not understand today why gold matters more than ever will be the one standing in shock at the ruins of their purchasing power and retirement savings. We are currently seeing price targets that would have sounded crazy not long ago. JP Morgan sees gold at $6,300, Bank of America at $6,000, Wells Fargo at up to $6,300 as well, UBS has revised their forecast up to $6,200, even Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank are calling for prices between $5,400 and $6,000 for 2026. This is not normal noise on the chart. This is a structural repricing, a monetary vote of no confidence against a system built on debt. Today we will leave all emotional chaos aside and focus on the raw facts. Why has every civilization chosen gold? What exactly happened in 1971 when the anchor was lifted? And why are central banks from Poland to China buying gold right now like there is no tomorrow? I will explain all of that in this video. Your time is valuable, let's go. So why did humanity choose gold of all things? Was it random or just because it glitters? No. Gold is almost physically perfect as a store of value. It does not corrode, it is divisible, and it is extremely scarce. If you melted down every single ounce of gold ever mined in human history, it would fit into just 3.5 Olympic swimming pools. But right now, something is brewing on the markets. The physically delivered gold stockpiles at the COMEX, the most important commodity exchange in the US, have dropped significantly over the last 12 months. What this means is that the paper price on the exchange and physical reality are drifting further and further apart. Anyone who wants real metal today is increasingly paying steep premiums above the official spot price. That is a serious warning signal. Gold is not an investment that generates cash flow. Gold is the measuring stick. It tells us whether our paper money is actually worth anything, and that is exactly where the problem lies. Let's ground this in a historical example. The Roman centurion 2000 years ago earned roughly 1 ounce of gold per month. With that, he could buy a top quality toga, a fine leather belt, and the handcrafted sandals. Essentially the tailored suit of the ancient world. Now jump to 2026. 1 ounce of gold costs several $1,000s today. What does that buy you? A high quality tailored suit, fine leather shoes and a matching belt. The purchasing power of gold has stayed completely stable across 2,000 years. Gold has not gone up. It is the dollar that has fallen. The paper has lost value while gold has simply remained gold. It tells us the unvarnished truth about our currencies. And do you know how currencies die? They do not collapse overnight like a house of cards. They fall like a newspaper. For years they slowly lose readers. Quality drops, everyone says it will be fine, we still have the subscriptions. And then suddenly they're gone. The decline of the dollar as the world's reserve currency is exactly that kind of slow, creeping process. The data shows it clearly. The dollar share of global currency reserves is falling steadily. But the general public only notices when it's already too late. Before we go further, we need to clear up something that confuses many investors. Why does gold sometimes drop sharply when stock markets crash? It is supposed to be the safe haven, right? This is where the mechanism of the so-called liquidity squeeze comes in. Imagine large hedge funds playing with extremely high leverage. We are talking 5x to 40x. When the broader market corrects, these funds receive margin calls. They need cash immediately to save their positions. In that moment, they do not sell what is worthless or what nobody wants to buy. They sell the most liquid thing in their portfolio, and that is almost always gold. An analogy: if someone suddenly loses their job and urgently needs to pay bills, they might sell their nice, well-maintained car, not because the car is suddenly worthless or bad, but because they need cash right now. That explains the short-term, often brutal drops in gold during market crash. It is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of systematic stress. If you understand that, you do not get shaken out of the market by these pullbacks. Instead, you see them of what they are, a strategic buying opportunity. So how did we end up with this printed paper in the first place? Before 1971, the US dollar was not just paper. It was a receipt for physical gold. The Bretton Woods system kept the world anchored. But the US was spending more than it had on wars and social programs. When French President de Gaulle started shipping France's gold back from New York on warships, Richard Nixon pulled the plug on August 15, 1971. He called it temporary. That temporary fix has now lasted 55 years. Since then, the dollar has been a fiat currency backed by nothing but a promise. This is obviously a simplified version of events, but the consequences are clear and they are brutal. 2008, COVID. 2024. Every time things catch fire, the money floodgates open. During the pandemic alone, 40% of all dollars that had ever existed were printed in just 18 months. The result is inflation. But inflation does not mean prices go up. It means the value of your money goes down. A dollar from 1971 is worth about 7 cents today. That is a 93% destruction of purchasing power. Money flows from savers to debtors and hard asset holders. If you save in cash, you are being eaten alive. If you own gold, your value is preserved while the world around you gets poorer. If you are wondering when the right moment to act is, you need to watch 2 technical indicators. But first, if you like this video, consider subscribing. We are on our way to our first 100 subscribers, and this would help our small channel a lot. Thanks. The first indicator is the sentiment. When institutional investors are extremely negative and the sentiment score crashes, let's say to a reading of 13 out of 100, this has historically often been the perfect starting point for a rally. In recent years, gold has risen by an average of 18% within the following 90 days after such panic levels. When the crowd sells in panic, smart investors buy. Second, real interest rates. That is the benchmark rate minus the inflation rate. Historically, the starting gun for the most massive gold bull markets has always been an environment of negative real rates. And that is exactly what we are seeing again right now. In the US, real interest rates have fallen to around 0.4%, the lowest since April 2023, and they are threatening to slide back deep into negative territory. This is exactly the setup we saw in 2002 and from 2008 to 2011, before gold exploded. That is my personal read of the situation. But the data speaks clearly. Draw your own conclusions. Do not ignore the warning signals in the system. Now let's get to the point that almost nobody is talking about. The China insurance rule. China has introduced a regulatory charge that allows its massive insurance companies to invest 1% of their assets in gold. That sounds like a small number, but China's insurers are enormous pools of money managing premiums from hundreds of millions of people. According to UBS analysis, they have not even come close to using up that 1% limit yet. When that wave really starts rolling, a wave of demand will hit the market unlike anything we have ever seen before. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. Central banks worldwide, from Poland to India to China, bought over 860 tons of gold in the past year alone. Why? De-dollarization and protection against sanctions. Gold sitting in your own vault cannot be deleted with a mouse click. By 2026, the US is heading toward $40 trillion in debt. Every 100 days, another trillion is added. The big players can smell where this is heading, and they are positioning themselves accordingly. When the architects of the system are hoarding gold themselves, you should not be looking away. Gold is not a way to get rich overnight. It is insurance against madness. Look at what the professionals are doing. Sovereign wealth funds and large family offices typically hold between 5 to 15% of their wealth in gold, not 0%, not 100%. A solid base as an anchor. Silver is the smaller, more volatile sibling you can add for the industrial component. A dedicated video on that is coming soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Right now, we have a historical unique situation: exploding debt, negative real estates, and a structural shortage in the physical market. Anyone betting only on cash right now is committing slow financial suicide. Use pullbacks from liquidity squeezes strategically. Build your position. Stay calm when the crowd panics. Think long term. Think in cycles. Those who know history do not need to fear the future. If you want to go deeper, check out our last video or our full analysis on Novo Nordisk. Both are worth your time. See you in the next one. Ciao.